What's going on, guys? I'm Pete, and welcome to Retro Game Attic. I hate to open up a video like this, but I do have some unfortunate news. My game room flooded. Bummer, I know, but luckily none of my collection was damaged at all. Like literally nothing, which was a total shocker to me. My house did sustain a bit of water damage though, so regardless, I need to relocate my collection so that the repairs can be made. I'm going to give a bit of backstory about my game room, the flood/roof leak itself, and how I'm packing and organizing my entire collection in the meantime. So let's get right into it. As my channel name implies, my retro game room is located in the attic. Original, I know. I had it set up there for almost 10 years, and at the time of the flood, I was 30 years into collecting. Needless to say, I had a pretty sizable collection. My TV setups definitely changed throughout the years. I started with a monster 36-inch flat screen Trinitron that was such a pain to move up the stairs, but the games looked amazing on it. My dad and I hand-built a few wood pine shelves to accommodate all of the games. I kept mostly NES and SNES cartridges on the wall to the far left, and boxed Sega stuff to the right of that. I kept boxed Nintendo, PS1, PS2, and Atari 2600 games to the right of the TV. I don't have any pics of it, but I built another shelf to the right of that one that housed most of the handheld stuff. Boxed Game Boy, Virtual Boy, DS, 3DS, PSP, and other miscellaneous stuff. On the rear of those non-pictured shelves is where I kept controllers, peripheral, cords, and other stuff. I eventually ditched the 36-inch Trinitron and graduated to a red IKEA cube shelf to house the various consoles. I picked up that amazing NES cabinet at a local garage sale a few years back for only $5. I had vintage Bose 902 floor speakers wired to a Sony receiver that all the consoles played through. The games sounded so awesome on them. Most of the consoles were wired to an 8-way RCA switcher box. And of course, the Wii U and PS4 were connected via HDMI. I should also mention that I had these cheesy 80s style tan leather couches that were super comfortable. They were pretty ideal for couch co-op play. I had a bunch of arcade marquees hanging up as well, with even two of them that I converted into light boxes. There is a pretty large unfinished portion of the attic that I used for various console boxes and peripheral storage as well. So my entire collection, aside from the Switch, PS5, and my two arcade cabinets, was entirely located in the retro game attic. I wish I snapped more pics throughout the years, but the game room was mostly some variation of the red IKEA shelf setup with either that 2012-ish Samsung LCD TV or whatever CRT TV I was rocking at the time. I luckily had a hookup with a friend in electronics recycling. They would keep their eyes peeled for cool CRTs that I might like, and I'd rotate them out as new ones came up. As you can see, the actual retro game attic was never a high budget affair, and I really took pride in the DIY scrappy nature of it all. Now, on to what happened with the flood. I had a little desk set up in the game room where I work from home at times. Lucky for me, as I was working from home during a rainstorm, I heard what sounded like a dripping noise adjacent to the window to the left of the TV. Upon further investigation, I noticed that there was a pretty steady leak coming from the top of the window and onto the back of my entertainment center. The stream and collecting puddle of water was like an inch or two from my white Wii console, but it never actually got wet. As soon as I noticed this water intrusion, I moved all the games off of the Sega shelf to the left of the TV and placed my hand on the drywall, which was completely soaked. My heart immediately sank, and I knew this was going to be a much bigger issue than I originally thought. From there, I moved all the games, consoles, TV, the NES cabinet, and more to the other side of the room to investigate the leak. The ceiling was completely soaked at the low point in the wall adjacent to the windows, so I shut off the power, grabbed some contractor bags and gloves, and removed all of the wet drywall and insulation that I can find. And here is the aftermath. I cut back as much wet drywall from the roof as I could to track down the leak or leaks, and luckily I narrowed them all down, so crisis averted there. It's still insane to me that none of my games were damaged, and I'm seriously thankful for that. I think if I wasn't working from home during that crazy rainstorm, I wouldn't have identified the problem so quickly. So again, I'm super thankful there. Now that I had the leak somewhat under control, I needed to pack up and relocate my collection to the basement so that we can make repairs to the roof. Just a heads up, we live in a coastal area in a historic house, so the basement is not the driest place in the world. My main goal here was making sure that everything stays dry while in storage. I purchased these 27-gallon Tough Totes from Home Depot. Fun fact, I chose the red top because I think they look cooler than the yellow. I also snagged a few packs of these 20-gram silica gel packs to toss into the totes for good measure. I knew organizing and packing these games up quickly was going to be a daunting task. I did my best to commingle similar games and items together. For example, Genesis and Master System box games are in one tote, NES loose carts are all together in 2 different totes, GameCube, Wii, and Wii U are together in one tote, and this one is a mixed bag. I have PS1 through PS4 games, DS, 3DS, and the original Xbox, and so on. As you can see, I labeled the bins with black Sharpie on note cards. I have box protectors on pretty much all of my cardboard games, so it's not the end of the world if they're stacked on each other here. I also repurposed a good amount of Amazon bubble mailers to put some of the unboxed handhelds in. You can see the Sega Nomad in one, and a bunch of the loose Game Boys are in the bubble mailers here. I also didn't completely fill the totes to the top to allow a little bit of room for the top of the tote to flex, since I'm going to stack the lighter totes atop the heavier ones. Speaking of heavy, the NES cartridge totes are super heavy. As for the consoles, I still want to be able to play them from time to time, so I used a few clear totes to house them and placed all associated wires in their own separate freezer Ziploc bags to keep them separated. You never realize how much crap you have until you pack it all up. I think I did a pretty decent job of organization already, but going through it all again gave me the opportunity to pick up some stuff that I will probably never use, like my Atari 2600 Junior, the Heavy Sixer, and all of the games. They are all awesome in their own right, but the 2600 is just before my time. I have mad respect for it, but realistically, as I get older and have less time, I'll probably never play any of these, so it's time for them to go. From here, I relocated all of the totes to the basement. This temporary basement game room is going to be a work in progress, so I'm sure things will get shuffled around as I figure out the logistics, but this is how my retro gaming setup is going to be for a while. I have my 20-inch flat screen Trinitron down there already, and I'm going to relocate my 27-inch curved Trinitron down there once I have the area all clear. I'll probably hang up a tapestry or something to cover up that grody basement wall. And as for the original Retro Game Attic, my wife and I decided we're going to do a home expansion up there while everything is essentially already gutted. A builder is going to do the heavy lifting and we'll do the finishing work to save some money. What I'm getting at is that it's going to be some time until I have a proper game room again, so it's going to be Retro Game Attic in the Retro Game basement for the time being. Now, at the end of the day, the collection can be replaced and all that really matters is that my family is safe. I'm super thankful that was the case, and in a weird way, I'm kind of looking forward to starting fresh with a new setup. I think I have a pretty good hold of where everything is in storage, and the consoles and games are all pretty accessible, which allows me to keep pumping out video content for you guys, so don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Hopefully this video gave you some ideas on game storage, organization, and keeping your own collection safe from unforeseen circumstances. I know this video is kind of out of left field, but I'm keeping a positive outlook here because after all, it's all of you that keep this channel going, so seriously, thank you so much for watching Retro Game Attic. I really do appreciate you all. Have an awesome day, and stay tuned for Retro Game Attic in the Retro Game basement for the next video.